Self-referential energy. I know. Nobody's playing. Self-referential energy. That's something that I talk about as the part of the video footage that behaves most like I do. Sometimes a person who dances to the song might be really good. Really long cuts of that person dancing makes us sit forward in our chairs watching with amazement. Other times, a person who's dancing to a song, well, they might dance more like me, hard. So, and most of the footage is useless. An editor will recognize that 30 minutes of terrible dancing may actually yield, however, very few instances of useful movements. Even if it's not, or there may actually be good stuff. Even if it's out of sync with the beat when performed, even if the move was completely disconnected from other moves, even if the dancer falls down immediately after. The editor doesn't need the dancer, necessarily, to be a good dancer. The editor needs useful footage. Now sometimes that footage is really hard won, but what makes it useful is what I call it self-referential energy. It's itness, it's magic. To be fair, this is true for good dancers too. In the Listomania matchup, there's some really good, skillfully performed stuff. These guys, their footage was very hard fought. I watched it happen. But they're cool in here. So, in many ways, these clips start to entitle the energies of each performance. They sum it up. They sum up the symbolic action of the dancer. The editing both reveals and entitles the dancer's essential moves. And this is hard work. Along the way, the photographers learned what they did well and what they did poorly. Not because they obeyed or broke some kind of prescriptive grammatical rules of photography, but because their action yielded footage that was either more or less rhetorically useful. The editors learn what they need and what they can transform, what they can use, what they can't use. And the writers can then walk away from the product, or from the project, with both a product that was made by way of imagination, determination, planning, and also a whole lot of triage. As one of my graduate students entitled the act of videotaping interviews, said, "What a fun exercise in damage control." Writers learn that 60 minutes of unedited footage gets pushed to yield 4 minutes of edited footage that took 20 hours to select and put together. The writers learn their limitations, they learn their strengths, and they make mistakes, like backlighting. Here's a grammatical error of backlighting, and here's one that turns out to be wonderful. They seize victory from the jaws of defeat. They share their finished works with their friends, with their peers, with their family, and potentially thousands of complete strangers. They get feedback. One 4-minute video will deliver all of this opportunity for learning. Some of these folks, through hard luck, or through luck and hard work rather, and careful craft and revision, will make something really wonderful. Something like Nina and Bethany. In her final reflection for the semester, Bethany said the following thing about the video: "It was a lot of work." By the end of the project, we did 3 5-hour shoots. We spent between 50 and 75 hours editing, and it seems worth it because it was really rewarding to be able to create something that's both enjoyable and make and fun to share with others. What made the hard work worth it? The operation of writing. Many hours of planning, followed by 15 hours of collection, followed by up to 5 times as many hours editing, followed by publishing the work to YouTube. A work that received more than 1,500 views within 1 week of its posting, and more than 4,700 views as of this week. It was also featured on the MSU homepage. My wife, after she watched this, said a very familiar question. Okay, it's fun, but how's it writing? How is sending a couple of students out with cameras to watch their friends jump around to some cool song, how is that the work of writers? How's this writing? It's art. But is it writing? We were divorced really quickly after that. I'm kidding. I actually said, "Thank you, that's what I need." It is writing, yes, because it participates in the operation of writing. Operation of writing. Even if it yields a product that we would think of as a work of art. Songs are works of art, they're written. Poems are works of art, they're written. And not because they have words. Songs are often instrumentals, they're written too. It's not the words, it's the symbols and the symbolic action that puts it together by way of the operation of writing. The operation of writing allows people to capture, mediate, manipulate, revise, and share ideas across time and space. They speak for us. Cameras throughout most of the 20th century allowed us to collect and mediate and share ideas by way of consumer photography. However, most of us were unable to manipulate or revise those images that we created, and our range of sharing those images was limited to our immediate face-to-face contacts. We made photo albums, we made home movies. Movies that not only were shot at home, but they were only ever played at home, or shared at home. Because we couldn't edit these movies, well, we needed to perform the movies for others. We needed to fast forward through the irrelevant bits or explain why it was, how it was, what was being captured, or apologize for the bad camera work, or the bad lighting, or the fast zooming, or the foul language of the camera operator. At least that's how it always seems to go in my house. The Listomania videos aren't home movies. They speak for themselves. They're composed by audiovisual writers who were guided by rhetorical aims. My students were motivated to join a conversation in the Burkean audiovisual parlor, the editing parlor. To pull off that mission, they needed to perform a critical analysis of the genre and to listen carefully to what was being said and how it was being said. They needed to plan what they were going to say in response. They needed to find talent, dancers, arrange schedules for videotaping. They needed to find and secure locations where they could videotape those dancers, locations that would help them tell their story, the MSU version, help them make their contribution to this conversation. They would need both recognizable and unique things. They would need to storyboard, that is, to plan those shots that they were going to need. They would need to schedule and secure the cameras and tripods and the other equipment that would be required to collect their footage. And all of that planning would facilitate them to respond to the local demands and the opportunities of the actual scenes of their video collection, the process. They would inevitably enter a location that would be scouted out to find something better right around the corner. And then the lighting that would make that location would look now suddenly very different from expected. Or a group of people would be suddenly having a class somewhere on campus where they never would have imagined a class being held on campus. This work demands planning and revising. This requires the abductive work of hypothesis making. John Dewey says that the more adequately the functional relation can be apprehended in the abstract, the better can the engineer detect defects in an existent machine and project improvements in it. Thus, the thought of it operates as the model. This is the working thesis. The plans of the music video makers function as a working thesis, a claim that sets the audiovisual writers into some kind of directed action. And yet along the way, the audiovisual writers, of course, as we know, writing is epistemic, they learn. The act of collecting will direct them to make new decisions, to hatch new plans and compose new theories based upon the experience being in this new scene, in the kairotic moment. In other words, the operation of audiovisual writing is realized through a series of ad hoc adjustments that yield the local process of carrying out the operation. As one of Nina's and Bethany's classmates puts it, planning is essential. Plan as much as possible ahead of time and expect it to go completely wrong. When it does, don't stress, be flexible. That sums up pretty much everything to do with the technical side of things. Photography is not writing. Capturing is not writing. Collecting is not writing. Unless, of course, it is. And so, a lesson that we might learn from Nina and Bethany is this. Remember where you're going. Where we're going, if I remember correctly, is we were going to go shopping next. So let's go shopping. There we go. Because we teach writing, the features and the specs of the cameras mean nothing to us if those cameras can't communicate with the equipment that we'll be using to edit, because editing is writing. Editing allows photographers to revise, reconsider, recontextualize, rearticulate, redistribute the information that they capture on film or on video. Consequently, a cell phone capable of capturing, storing, and editing, and sharing video is a writing tool that your students can use to engage the operation of video writing. A professional video camera, a really good one, that won't connect to the computer that you're going to edit on, isn't a writing tool. It's just a good camera, but not good for what we need it to be good for. It's no good. As with all writing tools, that capability, what it can do, is irrelevant if we can't engage the capabilities of the writer, which she can do. The camera must be able to participate in the writer's individual and local process of the operation of writing. And the operation of writing is an operation of symbolic action, which is, of course, rhetoric. And the operation of rhetoric is always about connecting more than cameras to computers. It's about connecting people. It's about identifying them. It employs symbolic means for inducing cooperation in beings that by nature respond to symbols, as Burke tells us in Rhetoric and Motives. It's always compensatory to the vision. And so I encourage you to look for duct tape in order to see problems, unlike the actual duct tape that's fixed the problem in that not on conference I was talking about. To make that makeshift movie screen, this duct tape is now going to be this metaphoric duct tape. And what does that stuff look like? Well, it starts to look like this stuff.
All right, I think it's recording. Day one of filming. Tell us what's been going on.
Been shoving a camera in my face.
Come on, this is for science. Something weird's been going on in our house, and we want to figure it out. Tell us more about it.
Can't we go to dinner? This is my last fry.
Yeah, fine, let's go eat some.